Good evening, this is the Northern Sun Experience. I'm David Brown, and the Dragons' flight is still in the air. Minnesota State Moorhead's men's basketball team advanced to the Elite Eight for the first time in school history last week, but the Dragons didn't exactly encounter smooth skies on their way to Evansville, Indiana. Up until the Central Region Championship, Minnesota State Moorhead averaged nearly 84 points per game. So it was surprising, if not shocking, the Dragons were able to advance to the Elite Eight, scoring a mere 47 points.
Especially in the tournament, you're just not going to be able to put up some of the points that we've put up this year. You got to be able to win some grind games, and I was really proud of our guys that we won 3 grind games to win the region.
Perhaps the signature moment of the championship showed just how rare this game was. 6'9" center Isaac Sievely making a critical three-pointer in the waning minutes. It's Sievely's only three-pointer of the entire season.
I just give credit to God, he helps me get buckets sometimes. Sometimes. But
and he means
with
that,
that,
he says it, trust me.
Senior Jordan Reaver iced the game with some late free throws, and the co-NSIC Player of the Year reflected on his journey from small-town Staples, Minnesota, to here.
Hard to put it in words. I was Coach Walthall's first recruit 5 years ago, and I'll be honest, when I first got there, I was just happy to get a basketball scholarship. Just the only one, and he gave me an opportunity, and I didn't think at that time this program could necessarily do what we did tonight. And then year after year, we just kept getting better.
Now, it's not just players like Sievely and Reaver who've carried MSUM this season. A deep roster has helped balance the Dragons' attack. Here's Kenny Buck.
Minnesota State University Moorhead men's basketball is enjoying one of the best seasons in school history, with over 30 wins and 2 double-digit winning streaks. The Dragons, led by head coach Chad Walthall and a cast of players spanning across the region, have put MSUM basketball back on the map. But 3 of these players come from an area not always known for having big-time talent. Junior guard Evan Holt from Oak Grove, sophomore guard Aaron Lean from Moorhead High, and freshman guard Tanner Kretschman from Fargo Davies. Together, these 3 have brought a local flair to Dragon basketball that has fans in Fargo Moorhead taking notice.
The excitement in the gym is just so much greater than the first few years here. It's really exciting to see.
We kind of feed off of that, so it actually helps us a lot, and it's been fun, and hopefully fans continue to come out.
Dragon basketball may not have always been an appealing option coming out of high school, but these players credit Walthall with changing the atmosphere of the program.
Back when I was in middle school or even my early high school days, I would have never thought of coming to MSUM, and to see the change and all of the time and effort that he had put into the program into making it a contender in the NSIC, that was a huge part for me.
I grew up playing basketball against Aaron Lean, so I knew what he was about as a player, and I knew if they could get him to come here that they have a pretty good program going on.
One word has become the identity of this team, which the players say they preach every day in practice.
One thing that we always say in the huddle is together, and I think that's the biggest thing, is we're just such a tight unit, and we bring the best out in each other.
Sticking together and playing for each other is a huge part of what Dragon basketball is about.
March Madness is one of the most exciting times of the year, and look for MSUM to make some noise in future national tournaments.
Once you make that, all bets are off, and it's just go time.
When we come back, Jordan Dalton breaks down the entire NSIC season on the men's side.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by CU Mortgage Direct LLC, Sanford Health, and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience, joined for the final time this season. It's so sad, but the final time by former Augustana point guard Jordan Dalton. We're going to recap the men's season first. We're going to start with Minnesota State Moorhead. They're obviously taking on Bellarmine in the Elite Eight, already the best season in program history. But looking ahead to next year, they're going to lose Jordan Reaver, they're going to lose Prescott Williams, and they're going to lose Urban Bingham, who's a great presence off the bench. So regardless of how they do in this year's Elite Eight, how can they get back there in 2016?
Well, I think their first step is replacing Jordan Reaver as a leader. You know, he's a great basketball player, but he's a better leader. You know, we talked about it all year long. A team usually takes on the personality of their leader, and in this case, Jordan Reaver had a great personality of being calm, cool, and collected. You know, he never cared who got the credit. He always made the right decision when the basketball was in his hands, and it seemed like the rest of the team had a lot of confidence and comfort from that. And so I think that's number one, what they're going to have to do is figure out who's going to be the leader on our team. And I think on the offensive end, you talk about a big presence in Isaac Sievely. He's been a great post player as far as blocks, rebounds. That's what he came in, that's what he did, and that's what he's been known for. But this year, he really showed some improvement on the offensive end. He's a guy who really attacks the rim every time he has the ball in the basket, or anytime he has the ball in his hands. And now he's shown that he can make, 1-2 dribbles, solid post moves going over that left shoulder. He can face up every once in a while, make a 15-foot jump shot. And so I think he's going to have to be a more focal point of their offense next year because we know they have great three-point shooters. But in order for those shooters to get open shots, you either need great penetration or you need a big who demands double teams down low. And I think he has the talent to do that.
You mentioned Reaver being a great leader, hit all those clutch free throws at the end of the Central Region Championship, but he didn't even have the best performance, didn't even make the all-tournament team, despite being the co-player of the year in the regular season. So let's look ahead to Augustana. Everything seemed to be lining up for your alma mater to make a run, but they fall in the Central Region semifinals. However, barring any transfers, as we've said, everyone is going to come back next year. They could even be the number one team in the preseason poll. So what do the Vikings need to improve next season in order to potentially justify that hype?
Well, I think the number one thing is don't listen to guys like us. Don't listen to the white noise. Like you said, as soon as preseason starts, as soon as they step on campus, they're going to have everyone from alumni to magazines to blog posts to everyone telling them, hey, you're the best team in the country. They can't listen to that. They've gotten to this point, and they had such a great year this year by just taking it one game at a time. Every time they step on the court, they have to be better than the other team for 40 minutes, and that's all it comes down to. It doesn't come down to any of this hype or expectations. They can't succumb to that type of pressure. They have to listen to their coaching staff and the guys in that locker room, and they're going to have some great leaders in Dan Jansen and Casey Schilling and Al Richter, who is their biggest job is just going to be make sure everybody's focused on the task at hand, and that's just doing your job to help us win basketball games. They can't get caught up in preseason rankings. They can't really get caught up in any of that. They just have to take it once again, one game at a time. And their motto should be just do your job. Do your job to win the game. And they have great talent. Like I said, they're not losing anybody and coming off the best regular season in program history. So you know the talent's there. You just have to have that same type of mentality of I don't care who gets the accolades. I don't care who gets the credit. We're just showing up, and I'm going to do my job and help my team win. And I think Coach Billiter is going to be able to hunker in and get those guys really focused to make a solid run at a national championship next year.
Well, despite the loss in the Central Region semifinals, still at 31-3, the best season in program history. Well, let's go to Minnesota State Mankato. They're going to lose their top three scorers from last season, the 3M, Zach Monahan, Asa Marai, Connor Miller. But as someone who's experienced big turnover while you're still on the team, how do the Mavs regroup next season? How did they overcome the loss of those big presences?
Well, you're talking about three players that accounted for 58% of their offense this year. So there's going to be a huge void there. And if you're an underclassman, you have to be licking your chops. You have to be excited that that's happening because that leaves ample amount of opportunity for you to step in and come in and have huge production. You saw a guy like TJ Lake. He had a great first half of the year, was able to hit some three-point shots. Now can he expand his game to doing some things off of the bounce? And so that's my biggest thing. As an underclassman, you'll be able to see, or as preseason starts, you'll be able to see who put in the work in the offseason and who's willing to step up and take on that role. Because there's a lot of shots to be had with the absence of those three guys. And so you're just going to have to see who's willing to step up and take that role. And next, I thought their biggest downfall this year was just their team chemistry. They didn't seem like they were always a cohesive unit. And so now it's basically a fresh start. And so, Coach Markenthaler is going to have a tough time, or a tall task, I should say, to figure out what is our team identity. What's our team identity going to be now that we lose those three guys? I expect to see a little bit different offense as well. They did a lot of high ball screens with Monahan and Marai, and those guys were just phenomenal at making individual plays. Well, now they don't have those guys anymore. So I expect to see a lot more free-flowing offense and a lot more, consistency from everybody else on the team.
Well, you mentioned a team identity. What's a team, maybe other than the first three that we talked about this segment, that could be on the rise next season?
Once again, it's hard for me to bet against Northern State. Just that toughness and that grittiness that they have, they're a phenomenal team. And that's the type of team I want to coach. That's the type of team I want to be on as a player. And so I think if they just stick to their guns and really come out and fight every single game, they're going to be a tough out every time they play. We talked last week. They just have to address the offensive end. If they can get some guys who can come in and create their own shots and get to the free throw line, I really think the next step for them is, we talked about how aggressive and physical they play on the defensive end. How do we turn that into offense? Because they get a lot of steals, they get a lot of deflections on the defensive end, but it didn't seem like they were able to translate that into transition baskets. So I really think they have to be aggressive in transition and turn that defense into some offense. And then finally, Jordan, what's a team that, in your opinion, maybe performed below expectations this year and should, keyword being should, improve next season? Well, you look at a team like Winona State, who was picked 4th in the preseason rankings and ended up only finishing 9th. So it was a team that really underperformed. And anytime you talk about the Warriors, you typically talk about greatness on that team. And the thing that they're going to take from this year is, when they were focused and ready to play, they can play with anybody. Toward the end of the year, they had wins against Mankato, and final regular season game, they beat Augustana. So they know they have the talent to get wins. It's just a matter of everybody being on the same page and trying to achieve the same goal, and that's just to win basketball games. Once again, don't worry about any of the outside noise. Don't worry about how many field goal attempts you're getting. None of that matters as long as we win the basketball game. So, extremely talented team in Winona State. I think they have the talent to make the next jump. We'll see if they have the mental toughness to do it. All right, thank you very much, Jordan. Well, when we come back, Mr. Dalton's going to recap the women's season in NSIC hoops and give you his teams to watch out for in 2016.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by CU Mortgage Direct LLC, Sanford Health, and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back, joined once again by Mr. Jordan Dalton. And Jordan, let's recap the women's season on the NSIC. Let's start with Wayne State. They're losing 3 seniors, but they just happen to be the only 3 who average double digits in scoring this season, with Ashton Yassi, Millie Niggling, and Jordan Spencer. But the Wildcats have 26 wins in 6 of the last 7 seasons. So what underclassmen can maybe help the Wildcats maintain their excellent status at the top of the conference? We always talk about it. I have extreme point guard bias, but I think their point guard, Sadie Murrin, has shown some flashes this year that she can really step up and at least shoulder some of that burden on the offensive end. She's a very quick point guard who seems to live in the paint. And she not only gets shots for herself, but she creates other opportunities, simple opportunities for her teammates. And so I think she has to really take a step up in her aggressiveness. Anytime she has the basketball, she has to be not only a scoring threat, but just a threat to put pressure on the defense. When you have that type of quickness and that type of athleticism that she has, and the ability to really, like I said, live in the paint, you're going to have an aggressive mentality at all times. And the Wildcats are going to need that mentality if they want to make that next jump with losing so much scoring from the senior leadership this year. Well, as you said, even though they lose a lot of scoring, they have proven to be resilient year after year under Chris Kielsmeyer. Well, let's go to Northern State. The conference tournament champions also lose their top 3 scorers, Rachel Krokman, Sadie Stotesbury, and Megan Muchler. But as we all know, defense is the hallmark of the Wolves. So is maybe their loss a bit easier to handle, knowing that the Wolves are such a defensive-minded team? Well, I don't know if it's easier. It's just different because, like you said, their foundation is going to be their defense. It always has been, always will be. What makes it a little bit easier in a situation like this is they score a lot off their set plays. And so they're very much a system-oriented offense. And so you don't want to say you can just plug players in and go, but it makes it a lot easier of a transition when you know, hey, we're going to run our sets. And so regardless of who's in there, we're running our sets to get buckets, and it's going to be a low possession game. I think it hurts them a little bit more because you're taking an already offensively challenged team and taking away their 3 best scorers. So I think it hurts them a little bit more. But the underclassmen just have to be willing and ready to step in those roles and run their set plays to perfection. Execution is going to be the name of the game for them next year. When you run as many sets as they do, it does create a lot of comfort on the offensive end because you know where you're supposed to be at and you know where your teammates are supposed to be at. And so you have to have some mental toughness and the ability to execute those set plays, to generate offense. Their other thing is just they got to get to the free throw line more. We talk about all their set plays, but it's hard for them to score. They don't score in transition, just not how they're built. But they have to be aggressive anytime they get in the lane, looking to not only get
convert on easy shots, but get to the free throw line because those are easy, simple buckets you can get, when the clock is stopped.
Northern State with the best defense in NSIC history since the conference moved to a 16-team league. Well, let's start with Minnesota State. They came on strong late. They're going to lose 5 seniors, but Sammy Delzato's back. A big sharpshooter, hit a lot of clutch threes in the NSIC tournament. They snuck into the big dance as the 8th seed, so can they improve next season?
I definitely think they can. Kind of mirrors the men's question here, but what are they going to do with leadership? Because when you lose that many leaders, you lose kind of the culture of your team. And so the underclassmen will have to step in more in that leadership role. And a big part of the leadership role is holding everybody accountable. You have to hold each other accountable on your team to do your job to get wins. And that means different things for different people. But if there's an understanding of, hey, this is my role on my team, and this is what I need to do for us to win a basketball game, and everybody buys into that system, that's going to be a phenomenal thing. And I think they can make that next step. I honestly think their team motto should be, if we take care of the basketball, we can win basketball games. This year, they were able to beat anybody when they took care of the basketball. We talked about that. Great championship teams, they don't shoot themselves in the foot. They don't give other teams opportunities and help them beat them. So they have to take care of the basketball because when they do that, they're as tough as anybody. But when they turn the basketball over on a consistent basis, they can also lose to anybody in the league too. So leadership and just valuing each and every possession, I think that's what's really going to push them to that next level.
Should be very interesting to see how those top 3 NSIC teams do next season, losing so much senior leadership. Well, what's a team other than those first 3 we talked about? Same question I asked on the men's side, who could be on the rise next season?
I was really excited to see Minnesota Crookston play this year. They have Alexa Thielman, who's one of the best three-point shooters in the conference. She was 3rd in three-point field goal makes this year, and she averaged over 15 points a game. And when you have that type of outside threat, the three-point line is a great equalizer. So I expect Crookston to continue on that uptick and really be competitive next year with such a solid offensive weapon coming back.
And then finally, what's a team that maybe performed a little below expectations this year and should improve next season?
You got to look at Concordia St. Paul. They were picked to win the league this year, and they've ended up finishing 10th. And so when you have that type of underperformance, you wonder, hey, what's our team MO? What's our identity? And I think they have to go back to the drawing board and get back to, hey, we're a defensive-minded team, hard-nosed team, blue-collar team. And it's going to be tough losing, 6 seniors, one of them being Annika Whiting, who's the most dominant post player in the league this year. And so they're just going to have some self-reflection to figure out who are we as a team and what do we need to do to get back on track.
Well, hopefully we can see your predictions come through next season. This has been fun, man. We really appreciate you coming by and providing analysis of the conference.
Absolutely. It's been a blast. I appreciate you. I appreciate Toby. I appreciate everybody at Midco for giving me this opportunity. It's been a phenomenal season.
All right, Jordan Dalton, thank you very much. Well, when we come back, we're going to highlight some academic All-Americans from the winter semester.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by CU Mortgage Direct LLC, Sanford Health, and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back. Let's take a moment to highlight the conference's academic All-Americans this winter. 464 total student athletes make up the NSIC All-Academic team. The top 5 schools were Sioux Falls with 54 student athletes on the list, followed by Winona State and Minnesota State with 48 apiece. Northern State had 43 and Minnesota Duluth had 41. For the entire list, you can log on to northernsun.org. When we come back, an inspiring story of one of UMary's biggest cheerleaders.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by CU Mortgage Direct LLC, Sanford Health, and Dakota Land Honda.
The University of Mary women's basketball team finished below 500 this season, but when it comes to heart, the Marauders are right at the top. Here's Marissa DiCandido with a story on UMary's biggest fan.
Most of the girls are like the girls from this year.
For Maya Finnis, every name on her University of Mary basketball jersey isn't just a player she cheers for.
Danny Clark.
It's someone she considers a friend.
They just support me most of the time, and it makes me feel better about some stuff.
She's only 10 years old, but Maya has had a lot of stuff go on in her life.
She had a brain tumor, so she had brain cancer, and they removed the entire tumor.
That was 4 years ago, and that's how she first became a part of the UMary basketball family through the Friends of Jacqueline program.
A lot of the girls came to the hospital during her chemo treatments just to kind of rally her on and give her some support and encouragement, and they brought her some treats, and she colored them all pages for their lockers, and it was just kind of fun to have that extra support during the treatments to help her feel better.
Maya became cancer-free and cheered on her friends from the bench at every home game. But just before the start of this season, doctors found something on her thyroid during a routine scan.
They took one side out, and then we were heading home, and then we got a call that they had to take the other side out too. It was kind of disappointing when I heard about the second surgery, because I'm like, man, I have to do this again.
Despite being faced with cancer a second time, Maya and her family knew their Marauder support system was only a text or phone call away.
We always talk about basketball being something that's really important to us, but it just helps us realize that there are bigger things out there. And, you know, for all the struggles that she's gone through, to have the attitude and the courageousness that she has and the fight that she has in her, I think it's just a perfect example to our young women in our program about what life really is about.
They're in their teens and early 20s, and to have them support a young child in the community is just, it's a great thing to see.
Maya had her entire thyroid removed, and she says she's feeling a lot better, and you can see that by the excitement on her face at every U Mary home game.
She sees it as having 15 to 20 extra big sisters, and I kind of see it as having 15 to 20 nieces that I get to go watch play basketball, so it's just a lot of fun.
I really enjoy it because I just get to hang out with them and have fun. It makes me feel really happy that I'm part of the experience.
Just a fantastic job by the Marauders, a wonderful story on a wonderful person. We're taking a 2-week break here, but we'll be back on April 15th for yet another Northern Sun experience.